Okay, once you have your horse all nice and grooved, you will grab a saddle and saddle pad. Our coach will tell you which saddle to grab for whichever horse you are riding. So if you come on into the tack room, we have our wall of... So I'm gonna grab one of those. Once you have your saddle pad, you want to make sure it is facing the right direction. So they have a little curve to them that should be facing forward because they arch with the horse. Make sure they're centered and sitting what looks to be a little farther forward than you think it should be, but that's where they should sit. And that is all nice and cozy, so we can grab our saddle. For Toby, we're gonna use this saddle. And then before we put our saddle on, you wanna make sure your cinch is up, and I like to put up whichever stirrup that I'm throwing over. And then, depending on the height of your horse, you need a good bit of momentum, so I like to come down and you just swing over and make sure it is sitting nicely.
Okay, so when we put the saddle on the horse, we want to make sure that they have enough space in their withers and make sure it's comfortable when they're riding. So we like to grab under the saddle pad, grab the top of the horn, kind of lift it up, and lift these two together, so then we have some space right here on their withers. And then you want to make sure that the saddle, or the saddle pad and the saddle, are pretty close in distance forward. So the saddle pad is normally farther forward than the saddle, and then you should have them both line up around with the middle of their shoulder right here. Next, we're gonna go on to doing the bottom part. So when you walk around the butt of a horse, you wanna make sure if you're walking around close, keep your hand on their butt so that they know that you're there and you don't end up getting in an accident or anything like that. Next, we take the cinch. So you want this middle part of the cinch to line up around with the middle of the horse. It can be a little bit farther to this side because as you tighten it, it'll kind of move towards the middle. So this one looks maybe a little bit short. So we're gonna put it down a hole right here on this leather. Now when we put it in the middle, it looks more centered. Okay, we're gonna go back around the horse. So we're gonna flip up the stirrup and put it on the horn. After that, this is a latigo. We're gonna untie this knot and pull it all the way out. The latigo is what helps us secure the cinch to the horse and make sure the saddle doesn't move when we're riding. So we take the latigo, go under the horse, grab the cinch. For the first pass through, you're gonna put it through the top hole, pull it all the way through. You're gonna put it through this little ring up here. Next, you're gonna put it through the bottom hole and pull it all the way through again, and then pass this through up here. So there's two different ways to tie up a latigo. I personally like doing the Texas T, which is you put this one through this side of the horse closest to the head, and then you go to the tail, you go in through here to the sky, and then through down here to the ground. You can also use this buckle down here, or you can do both, whatever kind of suits you or what's best for the horse. Sometimes we run out of holes to put the buckle in, so you kind of have to do the Texas T. Make sure it's slow so that you don't jump scare your horse. You slowly pull up on the latigo to make sure it's nice and snug and tight. And then you'll take your knot and pull it through. So now here, if you're using the buckle, you put it through one of the buckle holes and then just pull it out a little bit to make sure it sits nicely. Take your excess latigo leather and put it through this little top strap right up here. So you'll take it up through the bottom, pull it over the top. That just makes sure it's not flapping around while you're riding. And then once you take your stirrup down, you're all good. So before you hop on the horse, you're gonna wanna make sure that you check your cinch again. You wanna make sure you can fit a couple fingers in there, but it's not loose, like you can't pull it that far away from the horse, because this is what keeps the saddle on the horse while you're riding. So always before you hop on the horse, make sure to check your cinch, or walk them a couple steps so then they kind of get that air out of them, and then pull the cinch again to make sure it's nice and tight.
Once your saddle is on, we want to set our stirrup length. So a good general way to get it off the horse is take your fingertips and press them pretty much as far up as you can, and then bring the stirrup, and it should sit in your armpit. So this is actually a little short for me. So to bring it down, for Western stirrups, they have a collar here, And then you can slip this out, drop it down a couple holes, and slide this back over. And then that would sit about where I want it. And then setting them equal is sometimes annoying, so you can go and count the holes to see where you are. And I know I dropped this one hole, so I would come over to the other side and just do the exact same thing and drop this stirrup 1 hole to make sure they're a good length.
Now we're going back to the tack room to get our bridle. So inside our tack room, we have it beautifully organized by each horse's name. So Toby is actually way back here. We're gonna grab his bridle and then walk back to our horse. So you're gonna stand on the left side of the horse and throw your reins over their neck. And make sure that they stay next to us while we're bridling them. So next we're gonna unclip these clips, gently put them down, not like that. There are a couple different types of reins. So this is the reins on the bridle, this is the headstall, there's the bit. So there's a couple different types of reins. This is a Rommel. Other rein sets don't have this little end bit on it. When you're putting the reins on the horse's neck before bridling, you're just gonna put them over. And okay, next, so just as a little prep, what we're gonna do, hold with an overhanded grip, top of the headstall, and then we're gonna cradle the bit with our thumb and our middle finger, grab the headstall, and then we're gonna kind of cradle this bit. So we're gonna use our thumb to stick into the side of this horse's mouth. Pretty much at the side of the horse's mouth, they actually don't have any teeth. And you're gonna cradle the bit, make sure to wiggle it around, and then once they open their mouth, if Toby opens, then you'll place the bit gently in their mouth and put this little band underneath their chin. Next, you're gonna put the ear gently through, take this part over here. Some headstalls are different, they're gonna have a little bit of a different configuration, but this is how this one works. So because it's his bit, it should be sized nicely. It should have maybe like 3 wrinkles in the corner of their mouth. Make sure to adjust everything so it's nice and comfy for him. And then you'll take your reins, put them off of the horse's head, and then lead your horse to the arena. So once your horse is all unsaddled, make sure their hooves are all nice and picked. Sometimes if they're really sweaty, you can ask our coach, then we can hose them off and then scrape all the water off. Next, what we're gonna do is make sure that our cross-tie area is nice and clean for the next lesson. So we're gonna grab a pitchfork. Right now Toby hasn't pooed or anything, luckily. What you do is you just scoop up the poo, and then normally we'd have a wheelbarrow right over here that you dump the poop in. Thank you for watching our video.
And we look forward to seeing all of you guys at our first lessons.